We literally weren't designed to look backwards. Like, seriously, try doing it without moving your head. All growth requires change, whether you like it or not, and that starts with recognizing the realities and the roots of your problems. All that random rambling may or may not work as metaphors for what I'm going to show you today, as I'll be teaching you how to draw with some basic mindsets you should have while actually drawing stuff that actually grows. You'd be surprised how easy the process becomes once you consider the starting points of actual real-world objects. That said, one and all, welcome back to Illustrated by DeForrest. And today I'm starting off the growth series of live drawing episodes I'll be posting throughout the year. I'll show you some basic sketches and techniques that you can follow along with, and you can create your own and add different effects to your artwork. My name is DeForrest and I will be your host. So, let's start off with drawing a rose. Maybe a garden would have been a better location for this. Okay, so I'm not dressed differently because I totally didn't decide to just make the intro later on today, but let's get started. So, I'm using the open source app called Krita. It's a really good physical art emulator, I would say. If you're used to programs like Corel Painter, then I think it's a pretty good substitute for it. So, let's get started by first getting our paper right. We don't want to just use this plain old, just straight up white paper. Let's have a little bit of fun first. So we're just going to take a little bit of that. I'll just change it green for now since we're going to be making a red rose. Let's make an additional layer over that. Let's select the pencil. There we go, right here. I'm drawing on my really old Wacom bamboo tablet. I like to think of these things as glorified mouses anyway, so I don't think it matters too much. Let's erase that now. I'm just gonna make one more new layer. So like I was saying, if you want things that grow to actually look like they're growing, you want to start from the very interior, at least as far as the flower goes. You want to start with the root and then go on out. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking up pretty much pictures of roses on Google. So as always, first thing you want to do is get your references. I'm looking at, just really typed in rose into Google and seeing what I end up with. Oh, there's Axl Rose and a K-pop singer as well. Hey, there's Seal. So I found a pretty good top-down picture. You can just get one of your own, you know, nothing really specific. I'm not even gonna put this on screen. But like I said, let's start with the center right here. So I'm just gonna draw just a very basic swirl right here. So as you can see, mostly with roses, that they all start off with swirls really. Because when you look at roses, you can see that they all pretty much grow, that the petals pretty much grow around this one center and they just go from inside out. And it's actually pretty easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw one more deliberate petal right here. So kind of a bit of a hump to it where I'm just going to go over. You know what? Let me make this a lot bigger. I apologize for that. If this thing wants to zoom out correctly. All right. A little bit more. There we go. All right. So you can see that I really did just draw like a very basic thing there. So I'm just going to start by going around. Now, as you can see, that's one petal. There's another one, and you see that I'm starting by going from the outs, for pretty much imagining that the petal is like starting right here, and then really drawing it right here. You see that? I'm just going to erase that small part right there. Let me make this eraser a little bit smaller. So that's pretty much the idea that I have here. Okay. So now I'm drawing another petal, slightly bigger, and I just keep going around in that direction. We're gonna make this smaller now, if this thing will zoom out properly. We have our basic idea. Now what I'm gonna do is make these a lot bigger as I go out. Not worried about being like incredibly accurate at this point. But you can see what the basic idea is, where I'm starting from the inside, then just going from the outside. I'm making the petals a little bit bigger as I go. Now I'm going to zoom out even more. Now we're going to really blow these petals up some. So you can see that there are a lot of smaller petals in the middle to really show that, yeah, these things bloom. And they always bloom out from the center. Let me actually go back. I think I'm starting to think that that hump is looking a little I don't know if too elementary is the right word for it or not. I'm going to look at my reference one more time. I'm not even sure. You know what? I'm even going to admit it. This doesn't look too much like a rose to me. At least not yet. But I feel like this, we'll do that. We're just going to call this like a level 1 rose. We'll do a much more detailed one in a little bit. But this is pretty much the mindset you want to have while going through it. All right. So if you ever want to do any sort of floral design, here's your basic way of doing it here. Just going to do one more. And there we go. So as your level 1 rose, technically right there. That's pretty much the technique that we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to make a new layer. We're going to do something a little more extensive here. Here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to let's see, I'm going to look at my tools right quick. And I think I'm going to go with something a little more extensive. Let's see, I'm going to try this. Yeah, I think we can do something with that. All right, so once again, let's see, what's the name of this brush? If I can hover over it. Okay, so there we go. That's what I'm using right here, Ink 8 Sumi. Yeah, just go ahead and just take your time to like really decide how thick that the lines should be. So I'm pressing down. I have pressure sensitivity on my tablet. So I'm looking at my reference. It has a lot more swirls to it, which I really like, a lot more spiral to it. So I'm going to just do that right there. And then I'm just going to go on out. We're going to go counterclockwise. I'm sorry, I went counterclockwise the last time. We're going to go clockwise this time. Let's take a little bit right there. Pretty much close to the same technique. I'm going to use a little thicker lines here. Just going to turn that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so pretty much we're going to do a mix of thick and thinner lines. Just do a little bit of artistic license there. Let's see, I'm looking at my reference. There's a lot of like layering from this reference I'm looking at. You know what? I'll put the reference up. Go and do that. Thank you, future DeForrest. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in, add a little bit more. I still have that defined center right there. Sorry if I go quiet at certain points. I'm just kind of dialing in. There we go. Still the same technique where I start on the outside of the rose as far as like drawing new petals. Let's see, this one kind of has like a bit of a flow right there. And you can do like most flowers like this, where you just start with the inside, go on out. We're gonna layer this one a little bit. There we go. All right, so that's looking a lot better. We'll call this one a level 2. I don't do roses or flowers that often, so I'm not sure what level 3 is going to be, but you know what? I'll give it a shot. I think that's looking pretty decent. If I can get that last petal to look straight. I feel like my center went a little off center, like right here, because I see like a short distance from here as opposed to right here, but I feel like that's a decent level 2 right there. Now let me take a closer look. I'm gonna try level 3 now. I'm curious how that's gonna look. All right, so I'm gonna choose a different brush again. Let's see what we got. Okay, I'll give myself the challenge there. So here's what I'm using this time. Ink 4 Pen Rough. It's like not even I'm perfect, believe it or not. All right, so once again, I'm gonna do that spiral. I really want that spiral to come through this time. So let's add a little bit there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some very small stuff right here. Really get that interior going. Just still going that same technique where I go out. I'm gonna try to have these petals be a little pointier, I guess. There we go. Just need to keep my eye on that center so I don't go off kilter again. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. All right. I feel like that petal's a little too pointy. Need to have it slightly rounded. There we go. That's better. I think we're gonna layer that a little bit. We're gonna try to have some of these be slightly, not necessarily wilted, but just flowing. Still keeping my eye on that center so it doesn't go out. Okay. I'll layer that one. And once again, like I'm drawing pretty small relative to like how much space I actually have on the screen. It's like I always have that joke where it's like, oh, you buy a giant drawing tablet, you only use 10% of it. And I think I'm being a little too conservative as far as the size of these petals go. Let's actually make a big flower now. I'm gonna layer that one, then up here. I do not have the most steady hand while drawing, which is perfectly fine. Let's see here. I need to have to get these things a little bit of a double hump now. We're gonna go back and there we go. Just make sure that center stays in the center. There we go. Just gonna add a few back petals right there. Do a little bit more. Then just that right there. Just try to fill out some of those smaller spaces just to represent that there are some petals growing in the back as well. Let's put it this way, like the newer petals are coming through, so some of the older ones are going to be in the back because they're being overtaken by the newer ones. So I'm just going to fill in a few spaces there. Let's go back through and erase. It's going to be a big enough size to erase. There we go. Straighten up a little bit of that. Okay, so I think we got pretty decent rows there. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of this and just draw on the inside. Let's do a little bit of hatching, really. Now, hatching is just drawing some parallel lines into a space, and that just provides a little bit of shading. I'm just going to try to draw all in the same direction. Not really have to be like too accurate as far as the inside of it goes, at least not yet. All right, just gonna go inside there. Like the interior can just be all one direction, but as soon as we get to some of these more outer petals, I'm just gonna go pretty much in the direction that they're growing in, and also and pretty much that emphasizes that growing as well. So done a very basic drawing here. It's something that I think that anybody can do. Just gonna get my Bob Ross on right here. Also remember, you can also just turn your paper if you need to get a little more accuracy in your drawings. But like I said, it's a pretty basic one that anybody can do. I'm just keep doing a little bit more here. I don't know why it's doing those little humps. I think my tablet is like, yeah, it's like these things are making like little rectangles. That's not really intentional. Yeah, maybe my tablet needs a little more calibration. Not sure. But either way, it doesn't take away from what we're doing. Let's fast forward to when I'm done with this step one. All right, so that's our level 1 shading there. Like just some really rough hatching lines right there. But if I zoom out, you can definitely see that depth, that 3D effect more. Now, what I'm going to do is I was level 1 hatching. I'm not going to do any cross hatching, but what I am going to do is I'm going to add a second layer of normal hatching where I'm just going to really put in that contrast. I'm just going to draw some more lines over that center, darken it, and I'm just going to do a second layer over certain areas of that as well. I'm actually going to go over the edges of these petals as well. You can see that I'm trying to stay away from the edges for most of them, at least for the ones that are on the outside, but we can darken up those ones on the inside. And I'm actually going to put up this other reference that I'm using. Like you can really see that really has that darkness on the inside of that flower, so why not express it here? All right, just a little bit more, at least as far as this interior goes. Like I said, you're drawing things that grow, so you always want to start with the inside first. And you really get to define what your actual contrast is the further you go. At least as far as that step 1 hatching was. But yeah, you want to set some baseline hatching in order to really see. You know what, let me just stop drawing for a second. Jeez. All right, you want to really set that baseline hatching in order to see exactly, you want to see how the shades are going to be relative to each other. So you got that baseline, then if you need a second layer, then if you need like a third layer of hatching, you can see exactly where you're at. And especially if you're doing this, like say with actual ink, like I'm using digital stuff right now, I can erase this as much as I want. If you're using ink, you only get one go around. So you want to do this step by step, layer by layer, and really take a step back every now and then as you're going along. At least as far as like analog goes. For digital, you can go wild, but there are times where you may just want to do like actual real world paper, actual real world ink. So you can use that exact same technique here. You just have one go. All right, so for these outer petals, I'm not going to do as much hatching, but I'm going to do some shorter lines, at least some smaller lines in between these larger lines. I think they'll enhance the overall effect without making it seem as though the entire petal is one shade. And you can see that a few of these inner petals don't have any hatching at all, and I'm going to keep that way, just to really show that those inner petals are trying to be somebody, or they're really trying to grow out as well. So, I think we have a pretty basic level 3 here, if I can zoom out, if it'll let me. Okay. So, of course, as you're zooming, actually, let me zoom back in. So, of course, as you're zooming in, you can see all the scratches, all the really messed up looking things. Like this looks crazy, like the more you look inside of it. But as you zoom out, you can see that those hatching lines do the trick that you're actually aiming for. So I think that's a really decent looking rose. I'll just kind of meet in the middle, like right there. So yeah, that is my level 3 rose right here. All right, so this is going to be part 1 of a few growth series I guess I'm going to do. Let's see, I'm actually going to do one as well with hair. I think I have one with lightning bolts as well, because of course lightning starts from a source on the way down. Or even if you want to do like sci-fi effects where someone's shooting electricity out of their hands, there's still a source, and then it's like there's still a source of where the lightning's coming from, and then it shoots out. So I'm going to do a few episodes where I do some growth, and we're going to do a few live drawings here, and we'll eventually get back to the time lapses, don't worry about that. So I appreciate you joining me here today, and I have new episodes of Illustrated by DeForrest out every third of the month. Please subscribe to this channel to check out more and get notified. You can also check out the shop at lifelike3.com, and I'm going to have a worksheet that demonstrates this where you can work on this as well. You can follow along, and I'm pretty sure you'll learn a few things. Just maybe. I mean, who knows? You can also check out previous episodes, and one of my favorites is where I actually teach how to draw an eye. It's one of the favorite ones I like to do with art seminars, and it is just as simple as this, okay? I'll take it to you step by step. So you can check out the episode right there on your screen, and I will see you next time. Move the media. Peace.